Hey everyone, we've had an interesting question about the alarm system in the mind and its utility. I'll read it out. Hi Claire, what slightly confuses me is this. I see that our nervous system is the thing that tells us we are in or out of capacity. And so if it is constantly in freeze, then it tells me I'm out of capacity somehow. It's not that the nervous system is flawed or needs reprogramming, because that's just the alarm, isn't it? Or can it be broken and not responding correctly or stuck beeping like an actual fire alarm does? Sometimes it feels like these things, for example, working with all the internal parts and voices, or somatic experiencing programs, or vagal reset programs, are caught up in trying to fix the alarm rather than ever dealing with the cause of the smoke or teaching us how to understand what the alarm means and what the alarm is trying to tell us. Does that make sense? What's the point of keeping on resetting the alarm if the smoke is still there? It would be dangerous to reset the alarm. I guess we hope that these programs are about the fact that the alarm got stuck, on, off, or jammed at some point in the past when smoke was billowing out, or perceived smoke, and so now it isn't available as a system to give us accurate messages anymore. But to just learn somatic experiencing tools to switch the alarm off because we don't like the sound when it's on, then what's the point of that? And isn't that missing the point of the purpose of the nervous system? I'm getting confused about how to know if there's any value in it that helps us to understand what's going on with this, or if these practical somatic things just confuse the system more. And is the mind trying to interfere in the process or outwit itself? Yeah. So really, I think the question boils down to when the overriding experience is of fight, flight, or freeze, and is that useful? I guess really, like, is what it's really saying. The question is there something that demands that sort of response? And if we do work, any of the somatic work she's talking about, or anything else that in a way dewires that or neutralizes it, or makes it less likely to trigger, are we actually risking the system? Are we risking that it won't have that essential inbuilt alarm system? So interesting, isn't it? And it seems to me that it comes it comes down to, I think it really comes down to the question, what's at stake here? Because what we find, don't we, is that because of the way our experience has evolved, that either that fight, flight, freeze is like hyper sensitive, and it's triggered by the sound of a book falling, or a harsh word, or a glance, all because these sounds and glances and voices were so deeply associated as the mind was developing with serious outcomes, with terror, or abuse, or horror, or violence, or being shamed or put down. And so these associations happening now trigger the mind back to that time when there was physical danger, when our security really was in dire straits, and so the alarm system kicks off, fight, flight, freeze, and there we are. We find ourselves in massive conflict or total withdrawal, total shutdown, or completely confused because of that trigger of association. So there's the hypersensitivity, or equally, there's the confusion of those signals whereby the need of the self for security, for love, for approval, is overriding the actual physical danger that the system is in. And we see that, don't we, when people continue in abusive relationships, or they return back to violent partners, or there are risks taken because there is something else driving the behavior other than the safety and security of the physical. And so what we can see is the whole alarm system is sort of miswired, isn't it? It's the alignment of the alarm system with what it really was developed for, the survival of the physical, is out of line. And so really the question is, what brings it back? What brings the whole system back into coherence, such that the past is healed, really, it seems to me. The past is understood and finds its place within the whole fabric of the existence, so that it is no longer on desperate alert, or the need that is arising from it is no longer shutting down the alarm system. And it seems to me the root, and from everything I've read and seen and working with people, the root to that healing is in the present, and it's in the present response. And often on our courses, we look at the question, what's at stake here? Because the stress response, the suffering, contains in it a need. The suffering is indicative of something that is trying to be heard, really, isn't it? The suffering is indicating that there are things at play that are not in coherence, that are not yet healed. And when we don't understand that, it looks like the suffering is coming from what is going on right now. But in a way, it never is. I think the concern of the listener was that would we miss actual danger by doing any of this work? And it seems to me that a system that is fully aligned, fully coherent, that fight, flight, freeze response is functional. So it would move the body out of the way of a bus, or even like would sense something falling and get out of the way. It's that sort of animalistic tuning in. And it seems to me truly that the more the more the mind is understood, the more the overlay of mental navigation according to a sense of isolation and incompleteness and insecurity, as that gets more understood, it frees up. The whole system starts coming more and more into the present, into reality. And so the system is freed up to respond to actual reality. And so it's why I think any therapy has value in conjunction with an exploration of what the mind really is, what the self really is, what reality really is. An exploration of what's at stake when there's that suffering. Because without that focus on dissolving that apparatus of belief and separation in a holistic way, in an acknowledging way, in a way that allows the healing of past events. But without that, any intervention or any therapy really is inevitably going to be done from the perspective of how can I, Claire, really have more control? How can I not have this suffering? How can I not have these bad emotions? How can I not have these bad memories? It's really from a misunderstood perspective, and it's from a perspective that is all about trying to make more real this illusory self-identity. And so it's completely counterproductive. Whereas when any therapy is combined with this understanding that suffering is the alarm system that is saying there is something more to be seen here. The suffering is saying, don't just get lost in that story of the mind. Look at the story of the mind. Look at it. See what it is creating, and hang about seeing that, seeing what it's indicating about what has to be healed, what has to be understood more of, what maybe needs to be talked about or set free, really. Yeah, so it's very safe. This is very safe, this exploration. It's because it's not in any way about denial. It's about the wholeness of the mind, brain, body, physicality, the habitat, the inclinations, the beliefs. It's about the whole system, and the falling away of the illusions that keep that system over sensitive to triggers or under responsive to actual danger. Yeah, so it's a great question. Thank you. Lots of love. Bye.